Hey, it's Arcsecond. I'm sorry for the absence. Here are the remaining tips of the 25 tips of Christmas. Tip number 8. Checking how much CS the enemy jungler has during the first clear can tell you which camps they still have up and where they're likely to be on the map. Tip number 9. If your teammates have low health bars, they're more likely to be ganked, which makes it more rewarding for you to play aggressive. Tip number 10. Plan your recalls ahead of time. Decide on which gold amount, on which wave, and at what map state you want to back at. Generally, it's best to back with your teammates. Tip number 11. If your enemy hasn't been playing aggressive for a long time and then switches, chances are they have backup. Tip number 12. On red side, when the enemy's second or third blue are coming up, it's common to start dragging since you'll have the man advantage. Tip number 13. It's inefficient to be at full mana. Normally it's best to leave base around 75% mana, and it's also good to use a spell as soon as you can in lane. Tip number 14. Check to see if your teammates are gankable, and ping the spots that the enemy jungler would come from to pull off that gank. Tip number 15. It's better for you to be strong than for you and your opponent to be weaker. Avoid trading 1 for 1 and giving up too much CS to harass your opponent. Tip number 16. If you're not planning to roam, you can try to get greedy recalls off between waves to fill up on resources and to get a small item advantage. Tip number 17. When pink warding the mid lane side bush, avoid placing it directly next to the wall, otherwise it won't reveal all the possible wards. Tip number 18. With the removal of the Raptor Oracle buff, pink warding above the enemy red buff is a better option now. Tip number 19. Ask yourself what's likely to happen next in the game. This will prepare you and it'll be easier for you to respond appropriately. Tip number 20. When trying to fast push early game, one can pull the minions to tower to help push. Tip number 21. Play towards your strengths. If you built a Mar for laning, stay in lane as long as possible and keep playing around your enemy laner. Tip number 22. There's a huge difference in safety between the tier 2 towers and the inhib towers, especially in the side lanes. If the game isn't close, be very careful defending those towers. Tip number 23. Once a tower drops below 20% health, that tower becomes very unsafe. The enemy team can burst down the tower, they can begin their tower dive, and your team will normally be split between defending and holding the tower. Normally it's best to give the tower at that point. Tip number 24. When you're about to level up, kill the creeps needed to level up right before your opponent is going to go for a last hit. That will give you a window to abuse the level advantage. Tip number 25. Play what you enjoy playing. I always tend to perform better on those champions. It won't take as much effort to learn the champions, and it will overall be a more pleasant experience. Thank you so much for watching, and Merry Christmas!